Leanne Morgan is a naturally funny storyteller who gives an honest look at life with a pinch of Southern charm. Leanne's funny but honest point of view has earned her spots on the Dr. Phil show as part of his advice panel, and working with Paula Deen both live and on her show. Leanne was even chosen by The View as one of their most hilarious housewives. She keeps it real as she finds comedy within the chaos. She Conference gladly welcomes Leanne Morgan.
Hello. Oh, hello. Is everybody coming back in? I know it's hard for me to top popcorn. All right, they're filing in, so I'm just gonna say hello, ho. Have you ever heard anybody like me? Just me? Do you need an interpreter? I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I am as cold as I've ever been. But I love it up here. But no wonder y'all are all tiny in your britches. Y'all are freezing to death. Is that it? I've just seen it and done. Okay, I hope everybody got to buy tops and jewelry. Okay, all right, first of all, is Holly out there signing books? Oh, okay, then I'll say something about Holly later. All right, y'all are gonna get to hear little Lauren tomorrow. I've been in a minivan all day with little Lauren and her little husband, Eric, and they are yummy. And they've got a bunch of kids, and she's expecting a fourth, and she's written a book and blogged and like decorates and cooks. And I said, Lauren, when I was your age, I was walking out in the road with my bra on the outside of my clothes. And I didn't clean my house, and I couldn't write something. Oh my gosh, I don't know how you young girls do it. If y'all take pictures of me, make sure that I look thin. My pants are rolling down under my stomach. I am sweating in my crack right now. It's called menopause. And all these little girls don't know what I'm talking about. I'll talk to y'all in a minute, but about what y'all are going through with a bunch of little children. I remember what that was like. I had 3 in 4.5 years. Yeah, it hurt. And I was in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and the mountain people would say to me, "Don't you know what causes that?" And I said, "Yeah, but I needed the money." Okay. I was a stay-at-home mom. Money is power, power is money. I didn't have either one, so I had to prostitute myself to my husband for stride-right shoes. Okay. And I know I do talk about menopause a lot now and being sweaty and all that, but I remember what it was like to be y'all's age and what Lauren's going through. And I remember if I could just get to a bathroom, if I could just go to the potty by myself and be left alone. It was just like somebody sent me to the Bahamas. And just the minute I would sit down on the commode, a little baby would take a package of ham and slide it under the door. "Mama, open this ham." I remember that. People are still filing in. Okay. No, when you young girls, I'm going to tell y'all what your future is going to be. You start perimenopause. Some people start it in their late 30s. It doesn't mean you're going to, but it can happen in your late 30s and in your 40s, and you start sweating at night, like right here in the back of your neck, and Your estrogen and testosterone and progesterone plummets when you're going into the big time, and it makes you bitter and angry. And that's what my family says. And I think they're bitter and angry. But my husband's testosterone dipped a little, praise God. And, okay, all right, so some of y'all don't even know what in the world I'm talking about. But let me say this, y'all are not gonna learn from me, okay? Holly had a word, it spoke to me. I'm gonna tell her when she gets in here. Lauren will tell y'all things, y'all will learn from her. Nobody's gonna learn anything from me, okay? I'm just gonna tell you my story. I met my husband at the University of Tennessee while he was stalking me. He was so tickled with me that he bought me presents for no reason, no special occasion. I think y'all all know what he was after. Okay, I married him, had 3 children by him, then I had to give birth to get a pair of earrings. Okay, I had those 3 babies in 4.5 years. We moved to the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in a town called Bean Station, Tennessee, and my husband owned a used mobile home business. And he wanted me to be in sales for him, so I did that day. And until I saw a family drive up in a Gremlin, and a 9-year-old was smoking a cigarette, and she lit it off of her Meemaw. And so, in Meemaw, I need to probably interpret that. That's grandma in the South. And so I quit that day, and I went home and I got pregnant that night. Okay. And I've got to tell y'all that now my children are grown. They are 26, 23, and 21. I've got a boy and 2 girls. And when I found out about that baby in Bean Station, Tennessee, I'm ashamed of how I reacted. But I thought, oh gosh, I don't feel good. I woke up that morning, I thought, I don't feel good. Something's wrong. Surely to goodness, I'm not pregnant again this quick. I wanted a bunch of kids, but I didn't think it was going to happen that quick. And I felt crazy. And you know when you're just crazy and you got to know right then something. I got my 2 babies and the car seat and the diaper bag and all that stuff, and we drove to the Walmart in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And I bought an EPT pregnancy test, and I took it in the stall at Walmart, and I tinkled on it, and my 3-year-old boy said, "What, is it positive?" And it was. And so I drove home just as fast as I could, and I called my husband at work, and I said, "You're trying to kill me, aren't you?" "Well, you're not going to, because I'm going to walk out in the woods and let the animals eat me." But what a blessing she has been. I'm so thankful for her. She's a booger. She's the 3rd one, and I'm telling y'all, I was tired and beat down. And I let her do whatever she wanted to. I don't know if any of y'all do that. Little Lauren's about to have her 4th one. I hope that little baby raises itself. For you. I pray that for you. Okay, so my husband sold that mobile home business, and we moved to San Antonio, Texas, and that was an important time in my life. Some of you little mamas know about this. It was going to be when my baby child went to kindergarten. So I dropped my baby off at kindergarten, and that was going to be the first time I was going to be by myself from 8 to 3 all day long in 10 years by myself. I nearly grieved myself to death. I thought, Lord, what am I going to do with all this time on my hands? I hope I don't get hooked on whiskey and start honky-tonking. About 3 weeks into kindergarten, I was like, woohoo, woohoo. Now I can go get a pap smear without somebody sitting on my head. Okay, let me tell y'all that fast forward, they're all gone. All these little children grew up and left me with their daddy. And he is so not fun. He doesn't chat. He doesn't talk. He's got a big job. And you know, men only have so many words that they have in the daytime, you know, and he uses them up at work. And then he comes home. And you know, I really didn't notice it. I really didn't notice it. I was, you know, when you got a bunch of kids and everybody's crying in a minivan, honey, and throwing Pop-Tarts and, you know, getting that one to T-ball and this one to soccer and doing all that, I didn't realize their daddy was so blank. Okay. So now I just stand in the kitchen and talk to myself. We've got 2 beagles that we're in love with, and we miss these children so bad that we just sit and kiss those beagles all day long, every day. And they are yummy. Okay, and we want a grandbaby. I've got a child married, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I want a grandbaby so bad. And I'm trying not to push it. But I said to them, what is wrong with y'all? And they were like, we're waiting and we're enjoying each other. I'm like, this has nothing to do with y'all. Have the baby and give it to me and your daddy. My son goes, I want to raise my own child, Mom. I was like, oh, psst. So, okay. Okay, let me tell y'all that now I'm an empty nester with this man. And that I've been married to a long time. And he is very quiet, very introverted, very smart in math. He can reconcile a checkbook. He loves a clean house. I was telling Eric, little Lauren's husband, I was like, he loves a clean house. His mama raised them in a museum. So I got to where I would just pour bleach in certain parts of the house. And he'd come home and smell it. And it worked for a little while. And then he called on to me, but anyway. All right, so this is what happens when, for me, as an empty nester, some of y'all might be whooping it up and having a big time, but my husband and I, it has been really hard on us for them leaving. And so this is what our day is like. So he comes home from work, and we kiss dogs in the mouth, and then we don't like the same shows. He likes ESPN, and he likes Viking shows and stuff like, I don't even know what they are. I don't like them. It's a lot of terrible noises. And I don't like all that. And I'm ashamed to tell y'all because we're in the house of God. But I don't so much anymore because I've gotten tired of it, but I, for years, watched Housewives on Bravo. Oh, Satan, Sodom and Gomorrah. And I love it. And I loved it. And my husband hates it. And he said, you are single-handedly ruining the United States of America by watching that. I thought, that is a burden that I shouldn't have to carry. Oh, there's my Susan. Susan, you doll. Everybody give it up for Susan. You angel. I was over there bawling my eyes out, honey, and I've got on false eyelashes. I wanted to be pretty for y'all. I'm so happy for you. You are darling. If I lived here, you and I would go out clubbing. Okay, honey, you're fun. All of y'all are precious. That little mama back there that's done all that they honored, you angel from heaven. Okay, what was I saying? Okay, because I'm in menopause and it causes brain fog. And it makes you break out in a sweat, and it comes out the top of your head like you're being microwaved from within. It makes you very irritable, and you don't know when it's going to happen, and you just beat up in front of people. You're trying to be pretty, and you just pit out. It's terrible. So anyway, Chuck, okay, so we watch our different shows, and then we're trying to find a show together, but then we go to get in the bed, and my husband is very tight with money and very anal retentive, type A. He has been saving for our retirement since he was 25. I have been piddling our money away at the TJ Maxx, honey, for years. I have nothing to show for anything. I got a bunch of off-brand cosmetics and some veggie chips from the TJ Maxx and some panties that really don't fit right from the TJ Maxx. But anyway, so I go to the thermostat and I put it on 68 because I want to live through the night. And he puts it on 72 or 73, and he said, "You are freezing me to death. I can see my own breath." And I go, "That's a lie." And even though one night he had to wear a toboggan to bed. But anyway, we get in the bed, and these beagles, I hope y'all don't throw rocks at me. Sometimes when I say this in parts of the United States, people go, "Oh," and then other people are like, "Woo." But we let our dog sleep in the bed with us. Yay! Oh, yay! Thanks for not throwing a rock at me. Okay, so we've got these two beagles. The oldest one is Augie, and he's from Utah, Ogden, Utah. And my husband called me. He was out there on business, and this little man had two little children and a box full of beagle puppies in the parking lot. And my husband said, I want this puppy. I'm bringing this puppy home. And I said, "It's not a good time for me." And he said, "It'll be fine," and hung up the phone. So, and he knew better than I did, because that little dog has been the best dog I've ever had. Okay, he's white in the face. He's 12. And I know, and he's a big beagle. So my husband gets him in the bed and pulls him close up to him and spoons him in the bed. That old beagle walls his eyes and looks at me like, "I don't want him." "I want you." And I'm like, "Hold on." So I'm in menopause, sweating, and I've got on a gown from Soma called Cool Nights. They have a whole thing called Cool Nights. They've got them in panties and in gowns. Look at that darling sound guy with that bun, thinking, she's about to talk about her flesh-colored big panties. Yes, I'm going to talk about, and I noticed you're very fit. You exercise and take care of yourself. Good for you, baby. And I'm gonna do better. Okay, I'm gonna do better. But right now I have to wear these Soma gowns, and they look like a meemaw, but I don't care because they're moisture wicking. Anyway, they are. There's a dry fit technology in them. And they've got panties, too, that are dry fit. So, like, you could play football in them or golf. Anyway, I have on my Soma gown, and my husband drifts off to sleep, and that big beagle scooches over and gets in the crook of my legs because he loves me. I'm the mommy. And I'm so hot, and I'm thinking already, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm not going to sleep tonight. When you go into perimenopause and menopause, it's hard to sleep. So I take melatonin, GABA, L-theanine, passion flower, all these things, just praying. Oh, I think I can do it. I think I can drift off to sleep. And then the big beagle gets in the crook of my leg. Then there's a tiny little beagle, and she's a pocket beagle named Gigi, and she is so yummy. And she gets in the bed, and she comes up to my head and turns around several times, and then backs her little butthole up against my face. So I have a big beagle, butthole, and then right when I think I'm gonna finally drift off, I'm gonna try, my husband will start snoring. And it's usually like a little pew. It's like, it drives you crazy. Sometimes it's just a puff of air. And so it's like, so a puff of air, a butthole, a big beagle. So I waller all night in the bed. And y'all, I don't know if y'all say that word up in here, but in the South, wallering means I've rolled around in the bed, sweating and doing, and it's just like I've done Zumba in the night. And I wake up, I'm so tired, I haven't gotten a restful sleep. My husband feels like $1 million. Gets up and can go all day long and work and do, and then play tennis, and then weed the yard, and then, okay, right when I do finally get to drift off to sleep, then he gets startled, wakes up, and reaches over and wants to do something biblical with me, and it puts me into a rage. Okay, let me tell y'all that I need to say something sweet about him. All right, I'll tell you this story, and it'll explain him. Okay, in Knoxville, they have a local Dancing with. Here, baby. Look at him in his britches. I am going to lose weight. I don't mean that anything bad about that. I'm saying everybody here's so cute. And got tiny little britches on. Okay. Okay, so Dancing with the Stars, and it's all, the money goes to East Tennessee Children's Hospital. And they asked local celebrities to do it. So when I say local celebrities, that's like the weatherman and like somebody from the football team, that's gotten old and had a knee replacement. So they had been asking me to do it because I'm the only comedian in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I said, I'm in a bad place, and I've been eating white flour and sugar, and I don't think I can wear a bikini with fringe sewn on it, but thank you. And they were like, no, Leanne, it's for little children. So I said, okay. Well, they put me with a big boy named Daniel, who was darling, and he was my partner. And you learn this dance, just one dance in 6 weeks. You practice at night, and then you beg for money during the day. So it's stressful. So I was going to do the cha-cha, Earth, Wind, and Fire, September. And I'm a pretty good dancer, even though I feel like I'm in brain fog and I can't learn new things. But I thought, this is going to be so fun. Well, one night we were practicing. He kind of flung me hard, and I heard a pop from within. And I thought, what in the world was that? I woke up the next morning, and there was this big bulge coming out about right here. And I called my best friend and I said, I think I've got backed up poop. And because I have trouble with that. And she said, I don't think poop goes up that far. Let me look on my iPad on Medical MD or whatever, WebMD, and found a picture of this man, looked like an alien coming out of him. And she goes, is that it? And I go, yes. She goes, you've got a hernia. So I went to my doctor, and she said, I cannot push this thing back in. You're going to have to be operated on. Well, that event was like 5 days from then. And I didn't want to let down Children's Hospital. But my girls, my 2 teenage girls, stepped in and learned to dance in 4 days. And so that night I came out in a wheelchair to Proud Mary Keep On Turning. And my girls did that dance. Okay, what I learned out of that whole thing was that God forbid that I got sick with something bad, because I truly believed that my husband and children would let me die. I laid up in the bed for 3 days and nobody checked on me. I finally hobbled over to the top of the stairs and yelled down, are we going to eat anything? And I could just hear people going through my purse. The wonderful blessing that came out of that was that my husband learned about the cuddling program at Children's Hospital. And so he has been, ever since, cuddling drug-dependent babies every week of the world. Yes, sweet. He didn't help me with mine. But it's sweet. I notice you're in a medical boot. My darling, I just got out of a medical boot. And it was mine was a little bit bigger than yours. Mine came to about there, and of course I'm a big girl. I size 10 shoe. It was as big as David, y'all's worship leader. It's about his size. And I got that medical boot because my daughter, my 23-year-old, works for Make-A-Wish, and they have an extreme hike, and they have them all over the United States. And I didn't get to do it the first year because I was booked somewhere. And she said, my husband and my son did it. And she goes, Mom, I really want you to do it this year. Well, she said something like that to me in February. And you know, things slip up on you. And I was like, oh, yes, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And you raise money, and you do a 26-mile hike in 1 day. And I said to my son, what do you think? Should I do it? My husband said, Leanne, you're in the worst shape of your life. You cannot do it. And my son said, Mom, don't listen to him. My son's so positive. He goes, yes, you can, Mom. You can do it. He goes, it is not a big deal. It is just a little steep at the beginning. And then it's like walking down a dirt road. Well, it turns out that's a lie. But my nurse practitioner that I love and I do a podcast with, she is brilliant. We talk about hormones and all that kind of stuff. It's called Sweaty and PO'd, menopause and more. But anyway, she said, I was in there getting my annual exam. And the hike was coming up. And I had trained a little bit, but I really didn't train as much as I could have because it was hot in Tennessee. But I felt okay about it. And I said, I need a big headlamp because you start out in the dark. You start out at 5:30 in the morning and you go up a mountain. And she said, I've got the best headlamp. She goes, I do exams with it. So she puts on a headlamp and does pap smears with it so she can see. So I borrowed her headlamp. Thank goodness I did. My group had all these little pitiful headlamps. I don't know where they got their headlamps, but it was like one little, stream of light. So I had to be the spotlight for our whole group. And let me tell you, it was pitch black, and we had to go straight up a mountain and so many steps, like, I don't know, like 600 steps up this side of this bluff. And then it's supposed to level off, and it did not. It did not. It was up and down the whole time. And I had been to REI, and I think you can get them at like Target or Walmart or somewhere like that, but you can get these gummies that hydrate you while you're on you're running 26 miles or whatever, and you need these gummies. Well, me and my friend Becky did the hike. Becky wore her zirconia earrings, and she hikes like this. And I was going, I felt like we were in Beirut, and I got tangerine gummies. She got margarita, and flavored, not real margarita. Lord, we couldn't drink that out on a big hike. But anyway, we ate those along the way, and then every 7 miles they had a big food thing and water, and they told you were all right, and you were going to be all right. And they had these Uncrustables. Do you little mamas still put those in y'all's kids' lunch boxes? You know, the Uncrustables, the peanut butter and I have not had one in years. Honey, I got to that first thing, and I just crammed like 4 in my mouth. It was the best thing I've ever eaten. So then we get to like 16, 17 miles, and I start feeling a churn. Later, I find out that the gummies have got a natural laxative in them. Like I didn't have enough problems. I shouldn't have been hiking that long. And then I start churning. So then the end of the thing, they have a banjo. Somebody's playing a banjo. They've made Frito pies for everybody. And you're supposed to congregate, you know, everybody that made it through the 26 miles. And I'm churning. And I'm like, I look at my daughter and I go, I got to go to the bathroom. And she's like, there's not one out here. We're in the woods. She goes, well, there's this thing called a privy. Have y'all ever been to a privy? I had to go up in there in that privy. That is a hole. That's too much. That's too much. Where's Dave? Where's Dave? I don't want to scare Dave. I'm worried. What is your name in the bun? Tyler. I'm sorry, baby, that I talked about poop. All right. It's just I don't get to every often, and it was just a big deal. Anyway, I made it through the race, and we raised a bunch of money, and everything was all right with that. And so my daughter has got a heart for critically ill children, and she is 23 now. And but let me tell y'all, when she was 16 or 17, she was so mean and hateful, and we were scared to death of her. And she wasn't hateful to anybody else. It was just to us. She held it all in, you know, whatever was frustrating her, and she'd bring it home and spew it out onto me. And that's okay. I took it. But anybody here have a 16, 17-year-old girl or been through that? Can you clap, or are you too tired? Yeah. Something happened to her around 16 or 17, and she couldn't stand any of us. And we were so scared of her. The very breath that I breathed out of my nostrils made her so angry. We were not allowed to eat cereal in our own home because she couldn't stand to hear us chew. She went to the University of Tennessee right down the road and was in a sorority, and loved her sorority and was over philanthropy for them. That's how she ended up in a career in nonprofit. But all these little girls would come to our house and spend the weekend and wash their clothes and stuff. And everything I said made her so mad. And now at 23, she's like my best friend, and it's getting better. I mean, she's still hateful, but it's hormonal. You know, it's not all the time. So anyway, in college, she still thought I was so stupid. And this little girl came home, and I washed that little thing's clothes. And all I said was, Katie, you are so tiny, your little underwear looks like a slingshot. And that little girl thought it was funny. And my daughter looked at me and went, so I got out of there. And when that little girl left, I came back in. I go, what's wrong with me saying that her little underwear looks like a slingshot? I wish somebody'd say my panties look like a slingshot. Tyler, have you ever seen Braveheart, Mel Gibson? That movie, you know, they play it all the time. You know, when they catapult and they pull that thing back and put a ball in it and fling a bunch of... That's what my underwear looks like. You know, I used to wear Victoria's Secret. Y'all know who owns Victoria's Secret? Satan. No, I quit. He doesn't. I quit wearing Victoria's Secret because they cut me in two, and they didn't feel right. Okay, my girls, I'm in love with my girls. I'm in love with them, and I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. Because my boy will go off with his wife, because that's biblical. And I hate to scare you little mamas that have got little bitty boys that y'all are in love with, because they will grow up and walk off and leave you. And that is normal. And you don't want them to be weird. You got to look at it that way. You don't want them to be, you know, freakish. So he went to college. And let me explain him. He is an old man. He's an 80-year-old man. He was born an 80-year-old man. He has had a garden since he was in 6th grade. He cans his own food. He loved the gospel bluegrass, so we got him banjo lessons. He can play the banjo, the mountain dulcimer, and the mandolin. Kinda. Not, yeah, like not a natural musician. No, but just, you know, So, but he is so yummy, and he's never been hateful. He's never smart aleck. He has been the sweetest thing. And I love my girls, but they are volatile. And we're scared of them. Okay, so that little thing, we call him, he's very spiritually mature. We did not do it. My husband and I did not do it. We were full of sin. We're not anymore. But I mean, I was telling them back in the 80s, I danced to Prince and twerked. I didn't know it was twerking back then. You know, okay. So anyway, but I've been washed in the blood and everything's all right now. But anyway, my husband and I just had this baby. We call him our Billy Graham, and he was just spiritually mature. And so here's an example. When he was in high school, he had a little girlfriend, and he came home from being at her house, and I said, what have y'all been doing? And he said, well, we've been watching a movie, and we've been kissing. And I said, okay. That's okay. That's normal. But I said, baby, before you know it, you've got your arm around her, then you've got your hand on her leg, and things can get out of control. You need to watch that and slow that down. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's going to happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of is some of the nastiest things I ever did was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship on a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now, because I could get a new purse out of that. But anyway, so he, here's another example of him being an old man. He loves gospel bluegrass. His favorite artist was Dr. Ralph Stanley. Well, Dr. Ralph Stanley passed away in his 90s. But he came through Knoxville and performed at a big theater there. And I took my son when he was a teenager, and they brought little Dr. Ralph and propped him up on stage. I almost threw my panties at him, because that's what I do when I go see Tom Jones. Anyway, I didn't. But little Dr. Ralph was sitting up there. They call him the Godfather of Mountain Soul. And he's singing a song like, "A robin laid an egg on Daddy's grave." And I'm thinking to myself, how many teenage boys are listening to this? What are teenage boys listening to? Post Malone? Waka Flocka Flame? I don't know. But wouldn't it be funny if I had to yell at my boy, "Turn that gospel bluegrass down. You're out of control." If I hear "I Saw the Light" one more time. So anyway, he went to college and he met his little wife his freshman year, and he brought her home. And I'll just tell you, he said I had a terrible look on my forehead. It was nothing against her personally. I just was jealous. Isn't that crazy? But I was like, who is this heifer coming in here? Taking the sweet one, taking the one that's sweet to me, that doesn't yell at me. And they planned a big wedding, and about 2 weeks before their wedding, he said, "Mom, she is my best friend." And he said, "She is my life, and she is going to be my immediate family. You are going to be my extended." He said, "Mom, that's biblical. I'm supposed to cling to my wife." And I thought, why did I show him the Bible? I want to tell y'all that they had a beautiful wedding, and I was not okay. I really wasn't. I cried for 2 weeks before they got married. And I've heard my friends that have had a boy get married say the same thing. That it happens. You just you're grieving, kind of. And I got my hair done professionally and my makeup, and I cried so hard. You should see the pictures of me. It looks like my hair was slicked down. It looked like I'd been hit over the head with a wet squirrel. And there's pictures, and every picture I'm going. And then in the middle of that ceremony, because the Holy Spirit was there, God spoke to me. It was like, "It's okay, Leanne, calm down." Everything was fine, and I love her. I love her. She is like another child to me. And I would tell y'all, when it's time for you to have a boy get married, you better be good to a daughter-in-law, because you want to be around them, don't you? So you be good to her and buy her tops, buy her earrings, and buy her stuff at TJ Maxx, is what I'm telling you. All right, let me tell y'all about my baby child. All right, and first of all, I don't think I noticed when I went up here. Oh, because I got excited. Do you know, Sarah, when I did? Was it 9? It was. Okay, thank you. All right, did Holly ever come back? Is Holly out there praying over somebody? I bet she is, honey, giving wisdom. And I'm talking to Tyler about my panties. Okay. All right, my baby child just moved to New York, and she's going to school for makeup for television and film and special effects. And I know I miss her, but she's doing really well, and she loves it, and she loves it. But let me tell you about her. My husband and I are big people. My husband's 6'4", played football and basketball. I played basketball. I know y'all are thinking, "You sissy thing." You did not, but I did. It was the early 80s, and I had really big hair. I'm from a town of 500 people that grows dark-fired tobacco, farming community called Adams, Tennessee, and we didn't know what waterproof mascara was. So by the end of the games, I looked like, say if Tammy Wynette and Alice Cooper had a child together. I was worried about my boyfriend, honey. But anyway, so my children are tall people, and my baby especially grew so quick, so fast. She was about 5'5", 5'6" in elementary school. And she was taller than all the little children and the teachers and the principal. She hated it, was very self-conscious. The good news is, very athletic and very strong. So all these teams in East Tennessee would call me and say, would she play on our basketball team? Would she be the goalkeeper for our soccer team? We'll get her an iPhone. Stuff like that. I felt like LeBron James's mama. And I wanted to live through her. And so I made her do it. And so she got so tired of all that, did all that, and she came to us and she goes, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to cheer. And I said, well, baby, we're big people and we don't tumble. So let me see what I can figure out. Well, there's a thing in the United States called competition cheer. It's all over the United States. Do y'all have it here? Okay, for those of you who don't know anything about that, it's kind of like Honey Boo Boo meets gymnastics meets stripping. Okay. Very athletic. They're gymnasts is what they are. Okay, so there's a place in Knoxville called the Sharks. So I dropped her off to audition or try out, whatever you want to call it. And they ended up putting her on a bad mamma jamma squad because all the little children her age came up to hear on her, and somebody's got to throw them up in the air. So the woman came out and she said, I'm going to put her on this really good squad, but she said it's going to cost you $150 a month for her to come twice a week and learn a 2.5-minute routine. I said, okay. She said, there's a uniform that we're going to order her, and it sequins up the sleeve. It's going to come to here. It's going to expose her little tummy. It's going to have a little tiny skirt with a slit in it with a glitter panty underneath it. That's $300. I said, that's a whore outfit. And it came with its own bag of little whore makeup so that all the children could look alike. So she said, y'all are going to travel to faraway lands and compete against other little whore children. So we drove to places like Atlanta, Cincinnati. You spend the night in a hotel. You have to spend all that money. You get up the next morning, and there is a coliseum that is huge, and it's got tens of thousands of little whore children walking around. And they said, it's $150 to go in here and watch your little child compete, to be in it. Then you got to be in it. Then the fee, and then you and your husband have got to pay $30 for a band each to get in to watch her in this competition. So they start out with the babies. It's ages 5 to 18. They start out with the 5-year-olds, and they're darling, yummy, darling. They've got on a skirt about the size of a napkin. And they come out to Beyonce's, all the single ladies. And their little mamas are in their 30s, and they're not bitter yet. And they're in front of them, up front, doing every move, keeping them on track, because they're babies, and they need to be at home breastfeeding. Then they go up in ages, and they get to my baby's age, and they yell out, reef sharks. For 2.5 minutes, my baby comes out and throws little children up in the air, working like a Trojan, sweating. She's throwing these little girls up. They're called flyers, and they're the freakishly tiniest people you've ever seen, and their mamas are freakishly tiny. I mean, y'all can tell I've got thick ankles. I can work in the fields. I am a big girl. I don't know where these people came from. I've never in my life. So these little girls, the whole time she's throwing them up in the air, these little girls are going. and nobody knows why. The finale, after they're doing all that, then the finale is everybody hunkers down and puts their forehead on the floor. And my baby pops up. She's the finale. She pops up and has got a little child's foot in her hand and holds. Are y'all listening to me? One hand. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I could lift Susan up over my head with one arm. I don't think you could lift me, my sweet angel. It was a big deal. Everybody went nuts. And she was tickled and loved it, but got it out of her system. She goes, I don't want this anymore. I'm going to go back to playing sports. She went on and played volleyball for years, and that was another racket. But she said, I'm keeping that whore outfit. All right. And she still has it. Okay. I think at church they were playing the video about me doing Weight Watchers, and I'd like to tell y'all I've been successful. I'm just so thankful they don't have a limit on how many times you can join Weight Watchers. I've joined Weight Watchers 9 times and lost 7 pounds and all, and that's the truth. I love the meetings. They're so fun. If you are down and you need a good time, go to a Weight Watchers meeting. It's so funny. They'll say something like, I heard there was fat-free chocolate chip mint ice cream, but you can only get it at the Walmart in Harriman, and people start flipping chairs, trying to get out of there to go. And I'm one of them. Okay, y'all. I'm getting over my time. But I've got good friends that go and do Weight Watchers with me, and we do all right for about a week. We lose water weight, like 6 pounds. We're on fire. And then the next week we go, and it's like a pound, which is wonderful. I mean, think about a pound of hamburger meat. But we get out in the parking lot, and we're like, Cracker Barrel? Very lame. I need to find a real butthole girl, somebody that will keep me on track, because I've got a bunch of fun friends, honey, that are lame, and they don't stick to anything, and I don't either, and we don't help each other. Okay, let me tell y'all, I don't know if I told this last time, but every summer, you have to go get a bathing suit. I guess y'all do. Do y'all have summer? Does the sun come out? Do y'all have swimming pools? You do? And you get in a swimming pool? All right. I have bought miracle suits for years. And I don't know what department store y'all got up here. What do y'all have up here? Macy's? Okay, they've got them. It's called Miracle Suit. There'll be a big gob of them in a corner. And they're one piece. And I bought them every year for years, and I hate them. I hate them, and let me tell you that Miracle Suit reached out to me on Facebook and left me a message. When I first saw it was from Miracle Suit, my heart dropped, and I thought, I'm being sued by Miracle Suit. They were like, no, girl, we're not angry. We know they're tight. We know what they do. Okay, they thought it was funny, but what I told was that you look real good through here because it's got a girdle in it. It's a one piece, it's got a girdle. So it smooths you out real pretty through here because it squeezes your fat out in every other hole. It's awful. And don't get it in lavender. Okay. I was going through my playroom. We still have the house we raised our children in. And there's a big playroom that we don't use. We don't use it much of that house. We might downsize. I don't know if I can clean a closet out. Because I'm in menopause. Every time I go to clean a closet out, I end up in the driveway. And I don't even know how I got there. But anyway, I was going through my VHS, trying to put those on digital. And so I was popping in things and looking. There was a lot of things that I found. I found one where my babies were little. I had just had my third baby, and she was in a little baby seat. She was just sitting up there with a passy in her mouth. And my little boy was probably 4. And then my middle child, who took care of both of them. Middle child, you know how middle child is. She's always been nurturing too. So I popped that video in, and I was sitting in a pair of bad-looking pajamas. And I was so tired because I had those 3 babies, and it was Christmas, and I was just sitting in a corner going. And I had roots down to here. And there might have been breast milk stains, I don't know. But anyway, the 2-year-old, my middle one, was running around, and she said, "Blow, Charlie, blow." He needed to blow his nose. So she went and got Kleenex and was helping him blow his nose, and then went over and said, "Baby, do you need a passy?" And was tending to that baby. I know, and I did not realize how much she was doing. And she was like 2, between 2 and 3 years old. I picked her up at school when I saw that, and I said, "I'm so sorry. And what do you want? I'll buy it for you. I'm so sorry." I did not realize that I was in a daze and so tired. But anyway, another VHS that I popped in, it was my husband works for a big company that sends you on trips every once in a while. And I'm from the country. I'd never been anywhere. And they sent us to Maui. And it was just me and my husband and other people in the company. But we took a snorkeling outing. And I am sissy. I don't like all that stuff. I get seasick. I mean, if I walk across the stage, I may vomit. I am so sissy. And I didn't want to go out there. It was out deep sea. They put this big belt around you. People were drinking alcohol. I was sipping ginger ale, because it was big waves. I feel fat. I had a big old miracle suit on. It was squeezing the fat out. And I was like, I don't want to do that. My husband had been taking Propecia to grow a patch of hair on his head. It took him a year. He was so proud of this one patch. There's this little tiny woman who looked like a movie star, and she has no body fat, and I don't think she'd had any kids. She was real tan, had on a tiny bikini, and she was the person that filmed you. She went, and everybody had these big things on, and everybody was floating around, snorkeling, and trying to see things. All right, so she is swimming around with fins on and I popped this thing in, and my husband is like doing all this stuff, I think, trying to show off for the woman in the bikini, and that one thing of hair was doing like that. And all of a sudden, this big lavender thing goes across the thing. And I'm like, what is that? Is that a turtle? Thank y'all so much. Y'all have been darling.